So you're thinking about running, but not sure how to take the first step. My name is Brian Patterson, and I'm here to help. Welcome to Brian's RunPod. Welcome to a special edition of Brian's RunPod. Today we're joined by Jules, the founder of RunningRewire, a coaching platform aimed at helping runners rethink their approach to training and mindset. Jules brings a wealth of experience as a certified UK athletics coach, running technique coach, qualified personal trainer, and a pre- and postnatal exercise and nutrition specialist. With over 25 years of running experience and a passion for empowering women through menopause, Jules is here to share insights and strategies for running smarter. Welcome to the podcast, Jules. I did the same for Dominic as well.
What a welcome. Thank you for having me. That was most unexpected. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much. As I do with a lot of my guests, then I sort of go right to the beginning and sort of like, what was your experience of running, growing up at school?
Well, funnily enough, I wasn't particularly sporty at school. Maybe that's not the best way to start the podcast.
Yeah.
But no, I was very much the sort of person that was shying away from physical activity, perhaps sort of the last to get picked on the netball team type person. Yeah, didn't really get into it until sort of my later teen years. Although I do have an early memory of winning a race. It's actually the only race I've ever won in outright in my life when I was about 5 years old. I've won a few age category positions since then, but the only race I've ever won was when I was 5. So I can't exactly call myself an elite athlete, but
right.
Yeah.
was
very much into running.
I mean, did your school encourage it? I mean, was it kind of, how you get some schools which are kind of more academic?
No, not particularly. They were more about the team sports for sure. The only sort of shot at, proving yourself was sort of, sports school days, sports days. And yeah, just, I was never sort of encouraged to try that hard, to be honest. So that wasn't really a thing for me. I was more into badminton as a young teenager.
All right.
So that was my thing. I joined a badminton club outside of school and did quite well at that. And yeah, like I said, I didn't really get into sort of fitness for myself rather than doing it as a, in a school context until I was in my later teens. And then that was more sort of gym focused. I got a bit more interested in wanting to look after my health and well-being and perhaps wanting to look a certain way.
Right.
And yeah, so joined a gym. I actually remember that my first experience of a gym was going on the step machine.
Oh, yeah.
I pushed myself quite hard and had to go outside and take a few deep breaths to warm up. So it wasn't a natural, let's just put it that way.
Was there anyone, I mean, like for me at school, there was a somebody, a guy, a gym teacher who really encouraged us. But was there anybody at school for you, or even those, on leaving school, was there anyone who was there who was kind of like, someone like a mentor, as it were?
I think because I wasn't into the team sports, then not quite so much. Like I said, when I got into badminton, I can't quite remember the reason that I got into badminton, to be honest. But the coaches there were hugely supportive. But that was outside of school. I didn't particularly go to a school where they encouraged individuals. It was definitely more about the team sports, and at the time, that's not something that I was into.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, moving on. So Jules has now started. You started at the gym and whatever. So what made you sort of suddenly get into running?
Well, I think initially I just started running to the gym.
Okay.
using it as a means of getting from A to B. And then I would just run just for fun, just for enjoyment, just again, just a way of an easy way of keeping fit and getting that cardio in. And at the time, I thought a cheaper way of doing so. Turns out running is not quite so cheap as you think it is.
That's true, yeah. That's very true, yeah.
But yeah, that's how it all started. And then when I got a little bit older, I noticed a few of my friends taking part in events, marathons in particular. And I just thought, if they can do it, then I absolutely can do it as well. So a very close family friend of ours did the London Marathon probably about 15 years ago now, something like that. And I remember going and supporting and just loving the whole atmosphere. It was very different then because obviously you didn't have the GPS tracking, and it was just as exhausting looking out for runners as it was running, I think.
Oh yeah, you couldn't share your location then, or yeah.
I know. Yeah. It's changed a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then my partner at the time decided that he would do the same, and he entered London Marathon. And I saw him going from very little physical activity to really putting his heart and soul into training for it. And I understood the sort of duty of as a partner to allow him to do that, because it was very time consuming. Anyone that's trained for a marathon will know that it's very time consuming, and you do need that support of your partner, I think, to make the whole thing work.
Yeah.
So I supported him through that, and obviously went to cheer him along on the day. And again, just thought, well, now I've seen two people do these things, then I'm definitely going to do it. So my first race that I entered was a 10K. This was probably, it wasn't that long ago, really. It was just over 8 years ago that I actually seriously got into doing events rather than just running for the love of running. So 8 years ago, just over, entered my first 10K. I didn't really have a plan. I didn't follow a plan, that's for sure. I think my only goal was just, I wanted to definitely finish in under an hour. That's the sort of expectation that I put on myself, not knowing, because I'd never sort of done that before. And I loved it. I actually finished in 52 minutes. So well under the hour.
It's pretty good. That's not bad for your first time.
Yeah. And I just thought, actually, I really enjoyed that. So sort of got hooked from then on and started to enter a few more things. And then obviously the natural progression, having seen two of my friends do marathons, was to follow down that path and prove that I could do that as well. And I think that's what it was. It was just a challenge and proving to myself that I could step out of my comfort zone and achieve that. Because when I went to support them at the time, I was thinking, oh my goodness, I'd never be able to do that.
Did you like the process of training for a particular goal? Did you like that part of it as well, or was it just the the entering of the event?
Yeah, so I think by that point I'd obviously started to take running a bit more seriously. So I did have a plan rather than just wing it like I did in my first 10K. So the first marathon I did was to raise money for JDRF, juvenile diabetes.
Right.
And that was because some very close friends of ours, they're two boys who we're really close friends with at our school, have type 1 diabetes. So I did it for them. So it was something very close to my heart. So that was a big, a motivation for wanting to do it and wanting to do it well. So I, did my first one for JDRF. And although it was nice to have that support from the charity, I kind of felt like I was left to my own devices, with a training plan. You could just print off the internet and there you go. Here's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Off you go. So it was a great learning experience for sure. I completed that one in, I think, 4 hours 19 or something like that.
Right.
And I was delighted. I completed my first marathon. It was all for a good cause. I had friends there to support me, and it was a joyous occasion. And then obviously the competitive side of me just wanted more. I think that's how my running journey has progressed. I've always been quite competitive with myself and wanted to see what else is possible.
Do you think that's quite a good way of sort of, for if you were giving advice on, we'll no doubt get onto it later, but, touch on it. I mean, in terms of, let's say, someone who is starting out, then just to have kind of no expectations, and then because you will, if you want to do it more often, is just to set your goals, realistic goals.
Yes, yeah. I mean, obviously everyone's different. Some people are quite happy just going out and doing the thing that they love and with no expectation. Other people who maybe thrive off that challenge side of things will definitely benefit from looking at future goals and working towards them. And that can have a massive impact on training and be a massive benefit, to help us stick with training and to help us to push that little bit harder and see what's possible.
Because I've never done a marathon. I'm just speaking to people, through the podcast. It seems to be that, the 3 hours is kind of seems to be that the time that us mere mortals are kind of aiming for, as it were. It's not the it's kind of our equivalent to the Chipchoge 2 hours, as it were, sort of thing. So
that does have an awful lot to do with as well whether you are male or female, because the 3 hour.
Oh right, yes, yeah.
Get to is a lot harder.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, males do tend to be naturally stronger, I have to say. I'm faster.
So from there, then what sort of prompted you to try and to get into the coaching side or doing, personal training?
Well, after that first marathon and wanting to see if I could improve, I then realized that it was not all about running and all about performance. I realized the reason that I got into running in the first place was probably because I was at quite a low point in my life.
Okay.
I was huge struggles in my personal life.
Right.
And I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, that does coincide with the time that I entered that first ever 10K. So finding a focus and finding a reason to do something. Then when I entered my second marathon, I chose to raise money for Mind mental health charity because I just wanted to support those that had been going through similar things, are going through similar things in a slightly more proactive way, I guess. So I raised money for Mind. I still raise money for Mind to this day. I've become very close with lots of the community that I met through that charity. So I'm very grateful to them. But it was when I did sign up to the second marathon, it was when I decided myself to get a coach. And he helped me, massively to get some routine, to get some structure, to understand the ways of progressing. And, before I was sort of going through things a little bit clueless. And like I said, just, looking at something off the internet and hoping for the best, really. So I got myself a coach, and then having worked with him for a few years, thought this is actually something that I would love to do, that I think I could be good at. And I just wanted to be able to help other people in a similar situation to me to strive for those goals, to better themselves, to be the best that they could be. So that's why I first of all decided to train to be a PT. And it was quite soon that I realized, having got my PT qualifications, that the group of people that I wanted to work with were in fact runners. I wanted to help them with their strength training so that they could improve their running performance, so they could reduce the risk of injury. And those runners mostly turned out to be female athletes.
Okay.
Which is the sort of the group that I work with most now. So
it wasn't a conscious decision that you gravitated towards women. It just so happened it worked out that way.
I think, I think for me, it helps to understand what the athlete is going through. So for me in particular, the main group of people that I work with are women who are of my age, who are wanting to achieve a similar thing that I have.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's important when choosing any sort of coach that they're on the same page as you. So if they've either done something that you want to achieve or have helped others to achieve what you want to achieve. So, you've got to work with the right sort of people, and, and that works both ways.
That empathy. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's no point, I have a coach myself now, still to this day, not the same one as I had then. I have a different coach now, but it's really important that you do find that person that you're going to gel with and that can help you get from where you are now to where you want to be.
Right. Is there one thing that with your first coach that was a key? I don't know if there's one particular thing is, like maybe sometimes it might be not set your objectives too high or focus on a particular thing. Is there just one thing that particular coach might have?
I think with my first coach, it was a learning process for me because I'd never had a running coach before. I definitely had a PT before. And for me, sort of getting a running coach was learning to understand that just in the same way as you have a PT, which, people normally have on an ongoing process. You don't just get a PT for 12 weeks and then go, all right, see you later. So it was what I got from him. It was sort of consistency and the importance of consistency and looking at running as a long-term project and, setting yourself future goals and not just being a sort of one and done marathon type person. That's not the person I wanted to be. So it helped me realize that it's, to see progress, you're in it for the long term.
So it's a different relationship compared to, let's say, a PT, isn't it? It's very much different.
Well, it is, but that's what I mean. It shouldn't need to be. So people do see PT as a long-term ongoing thing. And I think that's the way I would hope that people would see a running coach, that it's a very much a relationship, an ongoing relationship. And you go through the ups and downs. You don't, it's not necessarily just training for a race and then stopping. It's training for a race, achieving your goal, then working through the sort of downtime and what you do in that interim, and saying about goal setting for the next time. And it's a very long-term project.
So you did your PT qualifications, then did you sort of soon after go to become UK Athletics certified, or was that something that was, you said, oh, yeah.
So that's what, when I realized the sort of the group of people that I was wanting to work with, then the natural progression was to help them even further. So not only being able to help them with their strength and conditioning, but also obviously their training program. So that's when I decided to become UK Athletics. You have to go through a leader in coaching fitness first, and then you do coach in running fitness.
Do you think people make, I suppose, is one of the mistakes that early runners make is that they don't focus on their conditioning when, they think it's all about the running?
I think it's a mistake that lots of runners make in the early days. Obviously, if running is your main love, then you're far more likely to not miss a run, or you're far more likely to skip a strength and conditioning session because that's not your main love. But it does play a vital role in the whole big jigsaw of run training. Not only to reduce your risk of injury, which is one of the major things, But, if you're looking to achieve certain goals and wanting to progress, wanting to get faster, then strength and conditioning work is going to enable you to do that. It's literally going to give you stronger muscles to be able to run faster. And I think a lot of people might shy away from strength training, thinking it's, pumping iron down the gym type stuff. So it does have to be running specific. If you are wanting to incorporate strength training, which you should, into your run training, then making it running specific in order to complement your running rather than, having an adverse effect on it. So you're not going to be bulking up. You're going to be working on, strengthening those muscles that are supporting, the bigger muscles that you're using and working, supporting the joints and giving you a stronger core to enable you to have better running form and all that kind of stuff. So it's looking at it as a bigger picture and realizing that strength and conditioning is your friend and not something that's just a chore that you feel like you have to do.
I know when I interviewed last year Stuart Hayes, who was in the triathlon Olympic team in 2012, he said he wished in his early triathlon career that he had much better focus on strength and conditioning, because he's doing a multi-sport event. So, and that would have, he reckons that would have definitely would have helped him a lot. Yeah. But
Yeah, absolutely. I think those runners that are currently not including strength and conditioning, you know what you have to do.
Well, as one who is getting over an injury, a policeman's heel, I know I know it's something that I'm guilty of as well. So.
You're not alone, Brian. Not alone.
Now, tell me a little bit more about the Run Some campaign. What's that involved?
So that was set up in 2021. So kind of right in the midst of the COVID pandemic, but which is not the reason why it was set up. It was set up to encourage people to see running as a form of active travel. So walking and cycling are often the big ones that are seen as active travel, but people don't necessarily think running. And there may be several reasons behind that. I guess it may be not as practical. If if you're running to work, you don't particularly want to arrive all sweaty, for example. So there are sort of several barriers to it, but it was encouraging people to just see it as a form of getting from A to B without the need to jump in the car. Yeah. So there were several running mares, we are called, that were nominated and picked throughout the country. I think there are about 100 of us. And the idea is for us to encourage our local community just to run #RunSome of those.
Okay.
Everyday errands. Yeah. And in doing so, posting on social media about it, doing the #RunSome, spreading the words in that way. And also just to try and get the government to actually realize that running is a valid form of active travel, and for it to get the same funding as walking and cycling for sort of local initiatives to get more people involved in the sport, to get more people active. Yeah, because at the end of the day, if you're running more of your journeys, you're going to be, improving your physical health, your mental health, and obviously helping the environment at the same time by not jumping in the car. Yeah. So that's the idea behind Run Some, and I've just been actively promoting that for the last few years. It's been great.
And that's a wrap for another exhilarating episode of Brian's RunPod. Thanks for tuning in, folks. As always, we've got your back with all things running, and next week, get ready for some awesome beginner hints and tips to kickstart your running journey. Oh, and before we sign off, exciting news. We're now available on YouTube, so whether you're pounding the pavement or chilling at home, you can catch us there too. Plus, we have a new feature on the podcast. You can now send me a message. Yep, you heard it right. Brian's RunPod has become interactive with the audience. If you look at the top of the episode description, tap on Send Us a Text Message. You can tell me what you think of the episode, or alternatively, what you would like covered. If you're lucky, I might even read them out on the podcast. Hey, if you want to keep up with the latest updates, behind the scenes fun, and even some exclusive content, make sure to follow me on social media. You can find me on Twitter, or should I say X, at Brian's RunPod. We've also just launched a shiny new Facebook page. Simply search for Brian's RunPod and give us a like. And don't forget to hop on over to Instagram, where you can catch all our visual adventures at Brian's RunPod. For those of you who love diving deep into the episodes, head over to our website, www.briansrunpod.co.uk, and there you'll find detailed show notes, handy chapter markers, make it too easy to navigate through our favourite discussions. Please leave a review, as it will always help others find this podcast. Music is by Happy Days by Stock Audio, not forgetting artwork by Alice Patterson. Till next week, thanks again for listening.